Inertia, Part 1. What is inertia and its current definition? Aristotle, born in 384 BC, a Greek philosopher, believed that the universe is composed of the four elements, earth, water, air, and fire, where each with its natural place one above the other. A natural motion is when an object moves vertically up or down towards its natural place. Heat rises above the air bubble rises above the water, and stone falls through air and water. Any motion away from the natural place needed a cause. A cart does not move by itself, it has to be pulled by a horse. Based from his ideas, Aristotle believed that it is a natural tendency of an object to come to rest as it is its natural state. Thus, objects on earth are naturally at rest. An object that is moved by something else. A force is required to keep the object moving, and if the force is removed, then the object will come to rest. Galileo, born in 1564, an Italian physicist, mathematician, astronomer, and philosopher, in his book, Dialogues Concerning Two New Sciences, published in 1637, stated his principle of inertia as follows. A body will continue to move with a constant speed on a frictionless infinite horizontal plane. So, according to Galileo, inertia is the tendency of a body to maintain a constant velocity. Galileo thought that the moving object will only stop because of a force called friction. He also realized that external influence or force is needed to change the velocity of a moving object, not simply to maintain it. In an experiment using a V-shaped inclined plane, he observed that a ball rolling down and then goes up the opposite side will reach almost the same height as the original height the ball was released. Galileo reasoned that when the other side of the inclined plane is made horizontal and friction is eliminated, the ball will roll with a constant speed along a straight line to infinity. However, Galileo's use of the term horizontal means equidistant from the center of the earth. That is, when applied on a large scale, the ball rolling on a straight line will actually roll on a circular path. Galileo also thought that the circular motion of the planet as it orbits the sun or the moon around the earth was natural and therefore does not require any explanation. René Descartes, born in 1596, was a French philosopher, mathematician, physicist, and a writer. In his Principia Philosophiae or Principles of Philosophy, published in 1644, he forwarded 3 laws of nature, contained in Part 2, Principles 37, 39, and 40. First law of nature, a body always remains in the same state of rest, and once it is moved, it continues moving. Second law of nature, the movement of the body is along straight line and that bodies moving in a circle tend to move away from the center it is moving. Third law of nature, a body coming in contact with a stronger one, loses none of its motion, but if it comes in contact with a weaker one, it loses as much as it transfers to that weaker body. Note that Descartes' first law of nature stated that once a body is moving, it will continue to move. Why did Descartes had to include this statement? We can infer from this that it has to do with the movement of the planets around the sun or the moon around the earth. Descartes provided the answer as to the initial source of this movement in the said book in Part 2, Principle 36. That God is the primary cause of motion. Descartes' part of the second law of nature relating to the movement of a body along a straight line will become a part of Newton's first law of motion, and another part relating to a body moving in a circle tend to move away from the center it is moving, which is called the centrifugal force, will become Newton's centripetal force that will become part of Newton's concept of gravitational force. Descartes' third law of nature seems to be more only of his observations or his thoughts, as he tried to grasp the right understanding of the effect of a body hitting another body. Newton will be the one who will reach the correct understanding that will be stated in his third law of motion. It was said that Newton named his book Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica with the intention of displacing Descartes' Principia, as Newton had always called his book Principia. Isaac Newton, born in 1643, was an English mathematician, astronomer, theologian, author, and physicist. He published his Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, famously known simply as Principia, in 1687, where in this work he stated his 3 universal laws of motion. Newton was able to synthesize and perfect his predecessor's ideas and added his own that showed his keen mastery of the subject. Newton's three laws of motion are: first law of motion, every body persists in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line, unless it is compelled to change that state by forces impressed upon it. Second law of motion, the net force acting on a particle of mass, m, produces acceleration, a, in the direction of the net force. This law is expressed in the equation, the net force is equal to mass times acceleration. Third law of motion, also called the law of action and reaction. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It will be observed that Newton had combined Descartes' first and second law of nature into his first law of motion but left the idea of a centrifugal force that he will change later to centripetal force to explain the force of gravity. Newton had corrected Descartes' third law of nature into his third law of motion. As it will come down to us in the present time, Newton's first law of motion became the definition of inertia. Newton's motion of the planets was relegated to gravity in stark contrast to Descartes' explanation that God is the source of the motion. Newton was very much aware of the lingering question on the motion of the planets. Newton said in his book Principia, gravity explains the motions of the planets, but it cannot explain who set the planets in motion. God governs all things and knows all that is or can be done. Thus, the current definition of inertia or the law of inertia is Newton's first law of motion, which is stated as follows. Every body persists in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line, unless it is compelled to change that state by forces impressed upon it. Please watch the video, Inertia, Part 2. Why is the current definition of inertia wrong?
Please give proper credit to the author for discussion of his ideas and theories. Thank you.